But I also had this conviction that I wasn't supposed to have sex until marriage. Bro, I don't even know where I got that.
Damn.
I mean, my parents were not teaching me that. I just felt like that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I tried to do that until I got to college.
Yeah. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of our show, In the Moment. And listen, man, we got somebody very, very special on the show today. Kind of getting me a little emotional because it really takes us all the way back to my beginnings. You know what I mean? Like literally my beginnings. But before I introduce who I'm going to introduce, I'll give a shout out to Diogene Brown in the house, sidekick in the house. Pedro on the ones and twos. Give it up for Last Supper production in the building. And of course, we got my main man, Tori, sitting in the back, sipping on his water, doing his thing on the cameras. But ladies and gentlemen, introducing this guy who honestly is just a phenomenal person in general. I mean, he is one of the smartest intellectual guys that I know. One of the biggest hearts, just as a father. He's an awesome husband, a great communicator, and really is just real. You know, you don't really meet too many people in this world, in this society that we live in today that's just authentic and that's just real. You know, there's so many people, even living in LA, you know, I encounter all the time. And, you know, everyone has that sort of fakeness, that plastic to them. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to give it up, man, to a guy that's been a big brother to me for years. Ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin Jones in the building.
Oh, bro, you talking about me that whole time?
Yeah, I was talking about you. He's so
I was like, who's about to come through that door right now? Okay, no.
You were so humble, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Man, so how long have we known each other, man?
Man, I met you back in 2006.
Oh my goodness.
Almost, 17 years ago.
17 years ago.
Yeah.
I met you. I met Ben on
That's
a
about
college.
as old as D, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He was in diapers right
He
there.
was in diapers. He literally was in diapers. He's bad now. I can't imagine how he was as a kid. If I would have babysat you, man, I'm telling you right now, man. I would have had you in check.
I was the best kid.
He lying. All right, we're gonna keep going.
Okay.
He lied.
All right, that means you were the worst kid. Okay,
Yeah, he was definitely the worst kid. Man, but I met you on the college campus and
Fisk University.
I met you at Nashville, Tennessee, a school that I was not trying to go to.
Yeah, a city I was not trying to go to.
Yeah, so I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
But I was a student, and you had just graduated from USC,
Yeah.
and you came on the campus to be a campus pastor.
Yeah.
And this is during my rebellious season. You know what I mean? This is when I was throwing all the parties, and I was doing my thing. Doing my thing. And Ben was always like that voice, that constant voice. People know me as the motivation guy. Well, Ben was my first motivation guy. You know, he was the guy that was always, tapping me on my shoulder. Hey, man, you need to go this way. You know, just always ministering to me, always being Jesus to me, always just being a good example. And, man, I just want to honor you in front of everybody that you have sold into my life, man, for so long. And, man, honestly, I don't think I'd be the man I am today, man, without the impact that you brought to me during that time. Thank you for being you, authentic and real. And
Welcome, man.
I'm so honored to have you on the show.
Well, man, I just want to say I'm just proud of you, man. Just for all the things that God has done in your life and the way that you've pursued Him and continued, and even just being able to do this show. So we were talking yesterday, and I was just telling you that I'm proud of you for stepping out and just moving in this direction, doing this kind of format here. And I know that this is a format that we see some big names on already. But at the same time, I told you, man, this is a space that people are able to receive. And ultimately, it's about that. And there's plenty of room for that. There's more people that need to be doing stuff like this so that they can continue to get this word out, continue to get the message in just a way that people can receive it. And that's actually been my MO from the jump, from the time that I met you, was, man, how can we get the message to the people? And I remember we did the J House. You remember that?
Wow.
Yeah, actually, you were going to call it the J Spot. But
I tried to call it the J Spot.
but that guy.
No. I literally.
We
So
couldn't do that.
let me say this. So I had this idea when I was in college, and I think I was a junior. I think I was either a junior or a senior in college, and I just give my life to Jesus. And you know, I the thing about it was like, you know, when you're trying to live a certain way and like change your lifestyle and all of that, and I knew the party scene wasn't my scene anymore. I was like, what can we do to bring young believers together, have a great time, have music, still dance, but still not like feel like we're compromising. You know what I mean? But you don't have to do drugs, and you don't have to be pressured to have sex, and you don't have to do all this stuff. But we can still have a good time and feel good about ourselves in God. And so I came up with an idea to really do on a Friday night, like almost like a Christian club type thing. And I came up with the idea called the J Spot. And the pastors wasn't feeling that name.
I said, we love the name, but
I was so innocent too. I was like, the J Spot. They're like, nah, that ain't gonna fly.
It might give some kind of wrong connotation. We may not want to go with that one.
But it was an awesome. It was awesome experience. And I just remember, man, we promoted it, and it was packed, man. I mean, we had an awesome turnout.
There was a line out the door, waiting to get in.
That was amazing, bro.
Yeah. But to me, that was an example, right, of, man, by any means necessary, let's think outside of the box to just continue to show people that this faith that we have and walking with Jesus is not just this thing that only fits on a Sunday morning with this traditional kind of service. And you open the door for that, and I think I just want to applaud you for that, continuing to move in that direction and in that way, because, and Jesus, he was always flipping the tables. He was turning the way things were done at the time. He changed the way people understood what it meant to have a relationship with God and how to worship him. And he told the Samaritan woman, hey, it's not just right here that you're going to worship him, but you can worship him anywhere.
Wow.
As long as you worship him in spirit and truth. So.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love breaking down religion, because I didn't come to know Jesus through religion. I came to know him through relationship.
Amen.
And everything has to be based off relationship, you know? So the name of this show is called In the Moment. Come on, Ben. When I say in the moment, you got to say the moment. Let's try to get it right.
I'm sorry.
The name of this show is called In the Moment. And so, you know, we want to teach people how to enjoy everyday life from a faith-based perspective, because the culture that we're living in, I mean, you know, right now, depression is rampant. Anxiety is rampant. Every conversation on every post and every blog has something to do with mental health. Everything is about the way our brains are functioning and hyperventilating and all this stuff that we're going through. It's because we're not understanding on how to enjoy living in the moment anymore, you know? And so I just kind of wanted to talk to you about this and bring you in on this conversation. But before we do, I just, I wanted you to kind of give, your background to the audience. Sure. I know that recently you just launched a church.
Come on.
Woo!
Reflection Church. This is our logo right here.
Oh, that's dope.
Right now.
Yeah. I love it. What's the name of the church?
Reflection Church.
Reflection Church.
Yeah.
So, man, just give us a background. I mean, obviously, I know, you are a USC graduate, which is awesome. Basketball team needs some work, but
hey, football team ain't bad.
Football team ain't bad though. Hopefully Bronny can get back to him.
Yeah, Bronny.
Yeah, Bronny James, man. Shout out to Bronny James. But anyway, can you just kind of give us, a background of who you are, because a lot of people they know me today as this person that is positive, and I'm a public figure to bring motivation to people. People know me as a pastor and all that stuff, but they don't know, man, like. I wasn't none of that. I wasn't none of that when I met you. Okay. Okay. And so, but you came along the scenes and you were that person to me. But can you just kind of give us a background, where you're from, kind of testimony?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised here in Southern California, moved around a lot. One of the main things that I say is, I'm a pastor today, but to your point, I was not raised in church. So for me, stepping inside of a church was not something I did on a regular basis. First time I remember going to a church outside of a funeral service was in high school. And so I got a couple people that would invite me, and I would go kind of just to acquiesce, right? And but I don't remember really getting much out of it, because they were talking about people and stories and stuff that I never knew. So I didn't read the Bible. I didn't know the stories. All I knew was there was this Jesus guy and a lot of people follow him. But other than that, I had no idea what it was about. So by the time I fast forward, I get to college, I'm at USC, I start thinking for myself and trying to figure out, okay, what do I believe about all this stuff? And I came to the conclusion that there probably is a God, but nobody really knows who he is and what it's about.
Okay, let me stop you right there. So what was your family life during that time? I mean, growing up, because I know that family culture has a lot to do with our belief system. Your mom, your father, So my
mom and dad, neither one of them went to church. But my dad, just to kind of give you a little bit more of the personal side of things, so my dad was kind of in and out for most of my upbringing. So my mom pretty much raised me. She was raised going to church up until she was about 8 years old. And after that, as soon as her parents asked her if she wanted to go to church, she's like, "No, I'm good." Never went again. And so we didn't talk about God. We didn't pray before our meals. We didn't have any of that, no religious things in our household. So I grew up in a completely non-religious home. So for me, that's again to your point about I didn't get introduced to religion. I got introduced to a relationship with God. I had no interest in religion by the time I got to college. To me, it was just a bunch of people who were weak in my mind and needed something to lean on.
Come on, yeah.
You know, some of the rappers used to say, "If you're scared, go to church." You know,
wow.
So to me, I'm like, yo, I'm not scared, so I'm not going to church.
Damn.
And so, yeah, that's really where I was. And mindset-wise, I kind of acknowledge that there's probably a higher power out there, but in terms of what it is and who it is and what book it is and how to actually worship or follow or talk to that guy, I just felt like everybody out here is just guessing.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you might think you have a better answer than somebody else, but you know what? I'm just going to remove myself from that game, and I consider myself agnostic. So probably is a God, but man, nobody knows who that is. So I'm just going to be out on the sidelines, kind of observing you guys do your little church thing or your mosque thing or whatever it is thing. Then I'm going to do me. And so in order to get to that place, and I think some Christians don't understand that, but if you're an atheist or an agnostic, in order to get to that place, there's a lot of pride for you to be able to think that way about people. And that's where I was. If I had thought I had figured things out so much more than everybody around me. So I'm over here judging all these other religious people, whether they're Christian, Muslim, whatever. But at the same time, I didn't realize how much of a need I had. Right? I'm looking at them like they have needs, and I don't realize I have needs, right?
Wow.
And so it wasn't until I met somebody who reached across and kind of started to minister to me, share his story with me. And we just met playing basketball. We were out there at USC hooping. He wasn't even that good.
He was the water boy, right?
He was a football player.
No, you were the water boy, right?
No, I was dropping him, bro.
That brother was on the bench. Come on.
No, I was working it, man.
Oh, you was working it. Okay.
I used to have some skills. Man, been a minute, but we were just running, and then he wasn't that good. But at the end of the game, we kind of got to know each other. He used to play football, and so he has some broad shoulders, like you know.
God, these dudes on the shoulders, man. Man, y'all don't know this, man. Before we even started filming, Diogene has a book of shoulder jokes.
He said,
anybody that knows Diogene,
what did he say? He said, "I haven't seen you, man. You are significantly bigger."
All right, listen, just for the sake of the show, look, Diogene, you get one shoulder joke, okay?
Word.
He gets one shoulder joke. Go ahead.
My shoulder jokes.
That was it. No. Okay, no, go ahead.
Before you go, I just want to get out the way because I'm telling you, because you want to call shy. Don't act all shy now.
I don't got no jokes right now, man. I just wanted to say.
No, as soon as the camera shut off, you start on my shoulders.
Wanted to say, like he said, when he saw you, you got significantly bigger. He saw you in May. With no shoulders.
That's 5 months.
5 months. This dude came back looking like Dwight Howard himself.
Dwight Howard before the Lakers. The Magic.
Orlando Magic, Dwight Howard. And like I said, I thought his head shrunk. I thought his head really got smaller. I was like, I didn't know science works like that. But no.
And we got to compare YouTube videos. We can see.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Hey. No. Literally, I wanna watch a video in about 5 months from now, right? And see how far back we got to move the camera to get his whole body.
All right, like I said, you get one joke, one shoulder joke per episode. Okay, you did about 4 right now. Okay, so
we have to change the whole.
Kept going.
You good? So the next 3 episodes, that's it.
Hey, I was the culprit there. So I was talking about the guy I met who was a football player.
Yeah.
He was an offensive lineman. But no, he was just a regular dude, and he was actually kind of cool. He was somebody I wanted to hang around.
Okay.
And I wasn't used to that. Most of the Christians I met were square.
Yeah, that's real.
And I just thought, like, these are not cool people that I want to hang around with. They don't listen to the same music. They don't understand the same jokes. They don't watch the same movies.
Nope.
None of the cultural references. So
yep.
To me, it just felt like, why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
And then I met this guy, and I'm like, oh, he actually seems relatable.
Wow.
And so that was what kind of hooked me in. Plus, he said he would buy me lunch. And so.
That was it.
That was it right there.
That was it. That would have got me too.
So then over the course of time, he started to open up the Bible to me, shared a story, and then I realized I just had a moment, man, where it was a Saturday night. So this is not just for Sunday mornings, right? I had this moment Saturday night. I'm in my apartment. We had just finished going through the Bible. But I'm like, look, I just want to have some moment to myself. I want to see if this thing is for me. And I don't want to feel pressured into making a decision about God. And so I'm in there by myself. I've never really prayed before. And all I knew to do was get down on my knees, because I'd seen that before. I'm on the carpet in front of my couch, and I just asked God, I said, God, would you just make me one of your children? And that was a simple prayer. And that was it. But from that moment forward, bro, everything inside started changing.
Ben, this is kind of sad. I've known you for 20 years. I've never heard this. I can't even front right now. I'm like, who are you?
Where did this story come from?
Where did this story come from? Did you just make this up? Because I've never heard this. Not one time.
Yeah, man.
Wow, that's powerful, man. So what happened after that moment?
So after that, man.
So did you feel something in that moment? Did God speak to you? Like, what happened?
No, it was more like that. I knew something had happened in that moment. I felt like he heard me, but I didn't necessarily have like this whole thing in that moment. But I remember the next day I woke up and I felt like life had just gone from black and white to HD. Actually, let me say 4K.
Wow.
I just felt like on the inside, like I was more alive, I was more vibrant, and I was excited about life. And before that, I wasn't. I mean, I was a little more on like the depression side of things. I never had like full-on depression, but I definitely was more melancholy and just kind of kept to myself. Mm-hmm. But this like broke out something inside of me where I was actually excited about life now. And then I just started telling everybody I knew about this Jesus. I was like, yo, he just did something in me.
And this is in college?
This is in college.
This is at USC?
This is my third year in college.
This is USC too. USC. So it's a lot of intellectuals and, all types of different
partiers.
Thoughts. Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
We got frat row out there.
Of course.
And I knew a lot of guys that were in the black fraternities. And actually, a lot of them I would go after. And then they, to this day, they tell me, they're like, man, we remember you would come around talking about Jesus, and we would run the other direction.
Wow.
Because they already knew where I was coming from. I'd be like, yo, you guys got to come out. Hey, man, let's go talk about this. And I would try to turn every conversation into a conversation about God. And I couldn't even help it. It just was starting to flow out of me. And I'm going from, I didn't even know if I believed in a God, to now I'm like, I can't stop talking about him.
Wow.
I started inviting people to Bible study on campus. I started my own Bible study. And then everybody I would just try and bring them to church, tell them about Jesus. And that was the beginning of me just growing. So for me, when I took that plunge, it was like, okay, I'm doing it all the way. Like if I'm gonna do this, I'm doing it all
that's
the way.
real.
And so I knew when I was making that decision, this is gonna have some consequences for the way that I live my life. And so that's why I wanted to take some time.
Yeah.
I'm not just signing up for this Jesus thing so I can wear a T-shirt and say, yo, Jesus saved me. No, I'm like, I understand if I say yes to Jesus, that now this requires every part of me to surrender it to him.
Wow.
And that he could tell me at any moment that he wants something from me, and I have to say yes. So I already knew I was doing some stuff at the time that he was going to ask me about, and he was going to call to come out of me.
Yeah,
so
I was actually going.
What was that?
I was going to get into that right now. So obviously, the first thing is, I think when someone has an encounter with Jesus, when someone has an encounter with God, and they don't come from a home or family where people are thinking like that or believing in that, that's always going to be kind of like the first battle. I think the first battle usually is with your family, right? Was there any type of opposition or anything with your mom? Or did she think you were crazy, a part of a cult, all this stuff?
My mom, she definitely was like, this is probably just a phase.
Oh, yeah.
Right, he's going through this little phase thing, and I'm like, this ain't a phase. Like, this is real. But eventually, obviously, now 20 years later, that was 20 years ago, bro. November 2003.
Crazy.
Almost to the day, 20 years ago. And so she now sees, obviously, I'm all the way in. I'm a pastor. I'm planting a church. Like, yo, this ain't a phase. It's a long phase if that's a phase.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong phase, basically.
Yeah.
But she wasn't too surprised. It's funny, kind of fast forward, I decided I was going to do full-time ministry, which is where I met you. And when I told her I was going to do that, she had the most surprising response. I'll never forget it. I had a job to work at one of the biggest accounting firms downtown in LA. And I had this whole job offer. I had signing bonus. For me, it was more money than she had ever made. And so I'm like, I'm about to pass my mom coming out of college, right? I turned that down and I say, look, I'm called to go into ministry. Her response, bro, no lie, I don't even know. She's not a Christian. To this day, she's not a Christian. She said, I think that's perfect.
Dang.
I was like, what?
That's one of them God moments where it's like you can't even.
Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what mom that don't believe in God?
Right.
Yeah.
Accounting firm out of USC says that's perfect.
Yeah.
It was like she had a moment that she like God just
spoke through her.
Wow.
Just to confirm it. So
does she even remember she said that?
She's
like, boy, you lying. You know I did not say that was perfect.
she does though. She actually does. I think she saw something in me from the time I was a kid. Like, I still, even as a kid, I tried to do good things a lot, right? So I remember even like giving homeless people money and stuff, and I didn't know why. I just felt like that was the right thing to do. And even when I was in high school, I remember I told my friend, like, I wasn't smoking, I wasn't drinking. I was focused on playing ball, so like I didn't want to do any of that stuff that was going to hinder me. But I also had this conviction that I wasn't supposed to have sex until marriage. Bro, I don't even know where I got that.
Damn.
I mean, my parents were not teaching me that. I just felt like that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I tried to do that until I got to college.
Yeah. Wow.
And then that one fell.
Man, that's huge. That's huge. So now you're doing full-time ministry. You know, when I met you, so you moved from Los Angeles and you come to Nashville.
Yeah.
Like, I went to Nashville to go to college. I mean, that was my excuse. I'm sorry. Nothing against Nashville. Nashville is an awesome
it's a
place.
lot bigger. It's cooler.
It's a lot bigger and a lot cooler now.
Yeah.
I got a lot of lifelong friends in Nashville. So don't come after me, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, I didn't like voluntarily be like, hey, I'm gonna leave Los Angeles. And
so actually, I want to answer that question real quick though. I want to say how my dad responded, because I think it's powerful for anybody.
Yeah, please.
And so when I talked to my dad, he was actually very much intellectual, and he kind of started to debate me a little bit on some of the God, Bible, Christian stuff, right? And so I just went at him. I was like, yo, this is it. This is the way. This is the truth. And I started telling him about stuff that was changing in my life. And then shortly after that, bro, within about 3 months, he said, you know what? I'm going to give my life to Jesus. He got baptized after that. So
man,
he's still walking with the Lord. So he became one of my biggest supporters in ministry, and so yeah, man. So that did happen.
That's awesome.
I'm still believing for that for my mom, but
that's
that did
awesome.
happen with my dad.
Man.
So then, in terms of why did I move to Nashville? So I went to this conference when I was in college, and it was one of those Every Nation conferences.
Yeah.
It was the student conferences, and it was in North Carolina. And one of the sessions, they had this guy up there talking about reaching the HBCUs, and something in me was like, yes. I just felt like that's what I need to be a part of right there. And I wanted to be a part of reaching into the black community. I didn't grow up in I grew up in Orange County, bro. Yeah. The black community was 15 people.
Yeah, and you come from a biracial background.
Yeah, my mom was white, dad is black, and I was raised by my white mother, right? And so basically raised in a white household around a lot of white people. And so I had this connection that I started to develop when I was in college with the black side of my heritage. And then through that, I remember that conference, I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
That's awesome, man.
And so then there's no HBCUs out here in LA, so I had to move.
You had to move. You had to go.
It was going to be either Atlanta, Nashville, or DC. And so I was actually planning on going to DC, but then I had a mentor who just moved to Nashville. He's like, I think you'd be better here, better suited here. Man. And I ended up meeting my wife while I was there. So he was right. Shout out to Jed.
So you met your wife. I mean, I was there in the process. I remember you going on your first date. You were nervous. And like, how do I look? How do I look? I was like, you didn't iron that T-shirt, by the way. But thank God I said, please don't say nothing stupid, Ben, when you go on the date, because you met her at Harry, right?
Yeah. She was
like about to be a doctor, right? I said, you better not mess this up, boy. You better not mess this up. She'll take it out of here, okay? She'll take it out of here. But thank God the date went well, and it kept going well. And then you told me that you were getting engaged.
We had some ups and downs. We made it.
You made it. And now today, how many kids do you have?
4 kids.
Woo!
9, 7, 5, 3.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord.
Yeah, so we said be fruitful and multiply. We took it serious.
Yeah, y'all was not messing around with that. So I want to get up to here because I really want to get to this part of it where I want, your journey, the microcosm of your journey, I feel like has been trusting God in the moment. You know what I mean? Like to make all the decisions that you made. I mean, even, to be influenced and be impacted by someone who had a relationship with God. And next thing you know, like, you're like an atheist, right? Like, and so you go in your bedroom and you get on your knees, like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And that was a leap of faith. And then all of a sudden, this thing starts happening. The Holy Spirit starts moving on the inside of you, to the point now where it's impacting your family and now your purpose. And now instead of choosing accounting, now it's like, I want to do that. I want to impact. I want purpose. Let me impact people. And so you had to trust God in the moment of throughout your journey. You were once, you once struggled with depression. You know what I mean? Today, fast forward, you're married, you have your family, you just launched a church, what's some, I guess you could say some advice or some wisdom with people that are so afraid? You've taken a lot of risk in your life. What is like some wisdom you can give to people that are just so stuck? They're stuck because they're afraid to fail. And it's almost like they're afraid to mess up. And they're not embracing the moment that they're in, and time is going by.
So there's a lot to answer there. I say number one, I have taken some risks, a lot of risks. And what I look at it though as is calculated risks. So for me, having an accounting background, I got an accounting degree, so measuring things, I'm not just doing stuff willy-nilly, right? And so for me, it definitely is a matter of weighing, okay, what is this potential opportunity or this potential step or decision? What could that look like? I'm thinking through those things. I'm not just running out and doing stuff, right? So whether that's moving from LA to Nashville, packing up my car, literally everything I owned, I could fit in my car, and I'm driving across country to a place I've really only been to once in my life, to now start ministry, which I've never done before full time. So that was a huge transition.
So you believe that was calculated? Because some people may call that crazy.
It was crazy. But at the same time, to me, it was the calculated part was I did take a visit before I went, but then it was also I'm praying, I'm talking to mentors. I'm not making this decision all by myself.
Okay.
And so I've got people that I'm talking this through. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I'm also talking to God about this, and I'm getting some conviction that, yes, he's calling me to this, right? And so once I feel like he's calling me to something, once I feel like he's in it, to me, it's not a risk anymore. To me, it's just obedience at that point. And so that was actually one of the biggest things that helped me to turn the accounting job down and go into ministry. Was I was sitting there with my mentor, and he was just trying to figure out in my heart if I felt like I was supposed to do ministry and like that's what God had for me, or if I was still wrestling with whether or not to do that. And once we got to the realization that, yes, it's in my heart, I do believe this is the path for me, he said at this point then it's really just about obedience.
Wow.
And so once you kind of, because sometimes we put those two things together. Number one is figuring out what should I do, and then number two is, am I going to do it? But when those two things are mixing together, it makes it real convoluted, and now you don't realize that there's obedience and there's trying to figure it out. But if you just stop and say, let me just try to figure it out first before I even decide what I'm going to do, and let me get down to the bottom and say, is this really what God has for me? Let me get some confirmation. Let me talk to some people. Let me pray on all this stuff. Let me fast, whatever I need to do, get to that point where I feel like, okay, this is what he has for me. And now it's really not a risk. It's just a matter of saying, okay, God, yes. And that's what it has been for me when it comes to the calculated risk.
Let me ask you this. You want to jump in?
No, yeah. It was just
more to say, but
it was just something he said. There's two things that he said, I think, that will help people in everyday life. The first thing you said was in the very beginning when you gave your life. And you said, I'm going to commit.
Yeah.
And I think commitment is actually what stops people from depression and those things. When you fully just choose to go all in on something, it actually makes your life a lot simpler because you're not going back and forth between lifestyles. Like, hey, today I'm a Christian, tomorrow I'm not. And it makes your life convoluted and confusing, and now you don't know where to go. So
there comes anxiety,
stress, depression. You just don't know. You don't know what to do. And also your calculated part, to me, is biblical. Because Jesus even told us, weigh the cost before we make any decision. You're supposed to be calculated. God ain't expecting us just to go just randomly start doing stuff. Like
what scripture is that?
I got.
Jesus said if you would go to the building.
It's when. Yeah, it's in the book of Luke. My bad.
I'm like, hold on.
Get that scripture up.
I'm like, I know I've heard it.
Yeah. It was talking about
counting the cost.
He said,
it's counting the cost.
No, because but then Jesus also talks about faith, and sometimes faith is literally blind trust, like it's just trusting God. And so I wanted to ask you about that too, because there's calculated risk, and I get that, but then there's certain times where God says, like to Peter, he tells Peter, hey, it's me, step off the boat.
Right.
And that ain't no calculated risk, stepping off the boat.
So in the middle of a storm. Actually, so I would say to some extent it is. Right? Why is he willing to do that? He's doing that because he said, if it's you, tell me to come. Right? If it's you. So now he's trying to wait. Is this really the one I've been following? Is this really the Savior of the world? Because if it's him, then I can do this. If it's not him, I can't do that. I ain't doing that. But I know my Savior, my Lord, if he tells me to do it, it's going to be okay. So to me, that is the calculated element of it. It's weighing, did God say it, right? And that goes back to Abraham, that goes to Moses. I mean, you can see over and over again, what did God say? And when you talk about what faith is, and I love this, in Hebrews 11, verse 1, right? It says, now faith is the evidence of things not seen. Right? So that means there is some level of evidence that God gives us. Yes. So he shows us that we can trust him through some sort of evidence, right? And that's what the resurrection is, evidence that he was who he said he was, right? And so whether it's his word that he's spoken to us, whether it's a sign, whether it's a person, but he gives us evidence. He gives us something to step out on. Otherwise, that's not really faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
So basically, and I just want to, I love this. This is a very important conversation because I know people right now that are confused. Yeah. I know people right now, seriously, that are believers, and they're living in confusion. They don't know if it's God or not. Yes. They don't know if it's them. They don't know if it's the devil talking to them. And so they're stuck. They're stuck at their job. They're stuck living where they're living in the town they're in. They're stuck, just in the lifestyle that they're in because they don't know.
What does God want me to do?
So what would be some advice for someone like them?
So the first question I have. If somebody said, man, I can't figure out, is this God, is this me? I don't know these thoughts. I'm like, how much do you read your word?
Great question.
And the reason why I ask that is not to condemn, but it's because it's through getting familiar with his voice that you can now be able to discern whether that's your voice or his voice. See, once I got saved, once I became a Christian, one of the first things that I was taught was read your Bible for an hour a day. Bro, that was my intro. I didn't know that Christians didn't do that. I thought that was like, when you become a Christian, you read your Bible for an hour every day. So that's what I started with. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm reading, bro. I am in the Word. I'm seeing some of these verses from my favorite rappers. I'm seeing they got lines out of the Bible. I'm like, this is where Tupac got that from. Oh, this is where DMX got. Okay. And I'm like, I didn't even know any of that, bro, beforehand. But I'm in the Word, like every single day, reading it, soaking it up, absorbing it. So now the more I hear his voice comes through his word, right? Now, anytime I have something that I'm thinking, is that God? Is that me? All I have to do is align back to his word and say, does this sound like something he would say?
Let me ask you this, because this show is also for folks, that are just maybe will be like, you know what? Like I like watching in the moment because I get some nuggets out of it. It's positive, but I don't necessarily believe in Jesus. I don't, we got people
That's
like
cool,
that follow us from different backgrounds. So for someone like them, how could you, what would be your I guess your advice to them to reading the Bible, to someone.
Where do you start?
Where do you start? How do you do it?
Yeah. So, because I think if there's somebody who's watching and they're like, I don't even know if I believe in this stuff. Yeah. Then the question about is God speaking to me or not, to me, it doesn't seem as relevant to that person, right? It's just about how do I make good decisions. And there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible. You can get a lot of wisdom out of it and how to just make good decisions. Some Christians, that's how they see the Bible. It's just about wisdom to make good decisions. But it's a lot more in there than that. So I would say, like, if that's where you're at and you're just trying to figure out how to make good decisions, I would just tell you, just talk to some people that you trust, get some mentorship. I mean, this is great practical advice that I got. I worked in corporate America for a few years at a pretty decent level. And so these are the things that they teach in those settings, right? I went to business school. I got my MBA, and it's like, what do? You find mentors. So that's how you make good decisions when it comes to a non-biblical perspective. By the way, that's really important to do from a biblical perspective as well. But that's something you could do with or without the Bible. For those who are like, I'm Christian, I believe in Jesus, I follow him, but I have a really hard time figuring out how to make decisions or knowing what's God's will for my life. To me, it goes all the way back to getting familiar with his voice. I heard this great analogy one time. So for anybody who's an athlete, D, did you play sports?
I did.
Oh, God.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
He plays basketball.
I played football.
Okay.
I ran track and I played basketball.
I actually met him. How we met, we met.
I was killing this man at basketball.
Can I share the story? Can I share the story?
He ain't going to tell the story correctly.
Earmuffs. Okay. So anyways, I met him at LA Fitness, and it's funny. I saw him a few times. You know, he seemed alone, and I, you know, it's one of them. You know, I felt bad. I felt sorry for him, to be honest with you. Anyways, we played basketball. He was guarding me, and he tried to get the ball. I crossed him over. Yeah. He falls in the middle of the game. I was a good sportsman, so I helped him back up. And he was like, "Man, what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I'm a pastor." And he was like, "You're a pastor?" And so that's kind of how the conversation
First of all, that's not how the story went. This is how the story really went. He thought he was so nice, right? You know how people be thinking, I'm a child of God. I can do anything through Jesus Christ, right? Besides guard me. But, you know, it's okay. But the crazy thing about it, about how I actually met you before I met him. Oh, wow. Cause I met you at Every Nation.
Ben's like, I've never seen you in my life.
No, I remember.
Yeah, remember, right? And so I thought like it's a small world, right?
You know, people like have you ever ran into somebody? Have you ever ran into somebody and they know you? Yeah. And you were like, I have never seen you a day in my life.
But anyways, if we ever play basketball, you will remember me. Okay. So because he remembers me, he remembers the story so well that he has to lie, right? That's how he gets through the day.
Redo that story in his own mind.
Anyways,
but I do have a question for both of you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So, when you're talking about, you know, making decisions and committing to stuff and faith and those things, for both of you guys, what was a moment in your life where you struggled with making the decision? Like becoming a pastor, was that a struggle for both of you, or was it something like, all right, cool, I'm just going to do that?
Yeah, do you want me to go first?
Go ahead, bro.
The biggest decision that I struggled with was actually who to marry.
Okay. That's huge.
So, huge. Yeah, when you were talking about my wife, that was a rocky relationship from the very beginning, because we had gotten to know each other as just friends for about 8 months. We just talked, we were cool. Now, I think I liked her, but I didn't realize I liked her. And so it was weird for me because, like, in my heart, I just was not expecting to be in a relationship. I'd actually gotten to a point where I had told God, I was like, God, look, if I go this whole life solo, if that's what you got for me, I'm good with it.
Wow, that's a brave prayer.
That wasn't a prayer.
I would not have prayed that.
It was more of a confession. It wasn't really a prayer. It was just kind of like, it was like, okay, like I've been looking for somebody, and like I just got tired of just constantly having my eyes up and like, I wonder if she's the one, is she the one? I just felt like I got just tired of that. I'm like, why am I constantly going after this stuff?
Yeah.
And my heart just was like, man, just let it go, bro. Like just die to that thing, right? Just let that part of you go. And so for me, what that means is like I got to embrace the complete opposite as a reality, as a potential reality. I'm not saying this is what I'm asking for, but I have to acknowledge that, God may have for me celibacy for the rest of my life. Like, I could be single. And Paul says it's better to be single. And at that time, I mean, I'm pretty young. I'm in my early 20s. So I hadn't necessarily lived like a long life and been like, I can continue to do this. I don't know if I was in my 30s if I would have been able to say that. But in my early 20s, I was able to say that at the time, right? And so so I meet her, and I'm in this space where I'm not really expecting to get into a relationship. And then we just kind of continue to talk, and then I got to the point where I'm like, I think I like her, but I'm not sure. And so that's when I said, I think we should, like, let's see if we can do something, figure out if we want to be together. I was super vague and unclear about what I was asking her for. But eventually we start dating. And then after about 3 months into that, I remember I was praying, like, God, is she the one? And I just wanted an answer. I just wanted him to say yes. I just want something inside of me to be like, yes, bro, that's the one. And I've heard stories where people look and they see, the Isaac story, like he looked up and, Rebecca, that's my wife, that's the one, right? I just wanted that experience, but that wasn't happening. And so I just felt like, well, if I'm not getting a clear answer on this, I'm just going to end it. let me just move on. Because, like, if it's not yes, then clearly let's just keep it moving. So I was about to break up with her, bro. I called her. It was in January. And I called her, and I tried to break up with her. Again, I was being super vague, not clear with my words. And then I got off the phone with her. My friend was there. You know him, Eric. I was staying at his house. Oh, yeah. And Eric was like, bro, what did you just do? And I was like, I just had to end it. He's like, why did you do that? You know, he saw what you saw. He's like, bro, that was your meal ticket. No. No. But he knew her, and he knew how good she was, and he knew how good she was for me. And so he's like, man, please get back on that phone and apologize, right? So I called her back. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to break up. She's like, wait, you broke up with me?
Oh, God.
She didn't even know, bro.
That's awkward. Yeah. That is awkward.
But she says to this day, she's like, if she had known that that's what I was trying to communicate, we would not have gotten back together. So somehow God, again,
Thank
kind
God
of
for your
intervention.
vagueness.
The Holy Spirit was like, I'm not going to let her understand what you're trying to say right now.
Yeah.
And so, but that was a struggle. Back to your point, was like, I just continued to struggle with, is she the one? But then God flipped the question on me. And here's how I got clarity. Because all of my attention was on him just saying yes or no to, is she the one? Is she the one? And then all of a sudden, he was like, do you want to marry her? I'm like, I hadn't even thought about that. My whole focus and attention was on, do you want me to marry her? And now he's saying, wait, do you want to marry her? Why don't you figure out what's in your heart first? Do you even want this? Because if I just get into a marriage, bro, with somebody strictly because I feel like God wanted me to and I had no desire for that, guess what's going to happen as soon as it gets hard?
Oh, you out.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, God, this woman you gave me, like that's Adam doing the Eve thing, right? Like,
yeah, you out.
The woman that you gave me, that's why this ain't working out.
Yeah.
So instead, he flipped that on me, and I actually had a chance to be honest with myself and do a little bit of introspection to be like, yeah, do I want to be in a relationship with this one? Do I love her? Do I want to spend the rest of my life with her? And once I got to that, then it was able to get a little more clarity, and I finally felt like, yes, I actually do want to be with her. And at that point, then I go to him. I'm like, hey, what you think? He's like, you got my blessing.
Wow. Yeah, man. I think this is yeah, no, I'm not gonna be as deep, but really this is really good because I think there's certain people that, you know, we're talking about in the moment, and I believe that your relationship with God really will help you learn how to make the decisions of you know, even when you don't understand things in the moment, there's going to be certain things where you just have to trust God on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's just certain things where it's just like you really have to trust God with. And so for me, like I've been in the entertainment industry my entire life. And I was at the time had a dance studio and I'm doing things I have my agents and doing all type of stuff. And, you know, it was just out of nowhere where all of a sudden I just had a dream. I literally have a dream and I see me like having a church. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm thinking for me, I'm like, you know, this is supposed to happen 10 years from now. You know, I'm supposed to be like, let me do all the stuff I want to do first and let me do that. Yeah. And it was just one of those things where I feel like the Holy Spirit began to kind of just this desire begin to grow more and more and more and more every day. Yeah. And would help me understand that you know, God was leading me towards launching something like a church at the age that I was because the things that I was around started drying up. You know, the church that I was going to, it just wasn't the same anymore. I wasn't receiving the same way. Every time I would see my pastor come out on the stage, I couldn't help but to see me on the stage and see me speaking. I'm like, what is going on? Like things I've never thought about before. And so I just want to encourage people, to a lot of times when things get dry in an area of your life, when things get dried up at that job, when things get dried up, you in a certain, place that you're in doing a certain thing, and it just feels like it's just not the same. I've lost the passion. I lost the drive. I lost the energy. It's a lot of the times it's because God has opened up something for you somewhere else. He's opening up another season for you, and sometimes seasons get old. And so for us to really navigate, talking about the risk and the decisions, it's really about kind of discerning, like, man, like, like when a season starts and when a season ends. You know, obviously we believe in marriage that, you know, that season goes on. So you know that we stand by that. But as far as like other things that we're a part of and we, you know, hobbies that we like to do or places we hang out at or careers or jobs or, you know, just things that we're into, you know, churches we go to or clubs that we're a part of or, you know, schools that, you know, whatever it is. But you start to get the evidence when things start drying up, when it starts getting hard and starts getting, you know, that's when you start really feeling like, okay, I believe God is shifting me. But I wanted to ask you this, you know, in the moment is really about helping people enjoy everyday life. And so what are some of the things, you know, before we close, you know, that really can help people that are dealing with depression today, that are dealing with anxiety today? You know, one of the things that I know we kind of spoke about was perfection and procrastination. You know, people feel like they have to be perfect in order to you know, to step out and do things, and they're procrastinating because they never feel like they're good enough to do it. You know, I don't know if that just made sense to tie in that and anxiety and depression, but just whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense though?
Yeah, definitely. So we had talked yesterday a little bit about this, and yeah, if there's some people who are watching this, you know, the one thing that I love about our relationship with God, and I say our because He's the same for all of us, right? We have the same access to Him. Now, it gets expressed a little differently through each one of our own personalities and all that, but man, one of the things that's so beautiful about what I see consistently is that He's not looking for perfection from us.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get to a point of clarity around certain decisions. Sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
The key, and I always say this, I'm like, all He really asks of us is to walk by faith, which means trust.
Yeah.
So whatever the decision is, if it's the right one, the wrong one, honestly, God is so big that there's really no wrong decision that's going to totally derail you anyway. It's really just a matter of continuing to trust with Him, walk with Him, right? So I was sharing with you that our church, we launched last month. So we launched September 10th, super big day. It was amazing.
Wow, congrats, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So yeah, we like just over a month in, and
name of your church?
Reflection Church.
Reflection Church.
Yeah, check us out, reflectionchurch.xyz. Yep, .xyz. And so one of the things that happened, though, we were meeting on this community college, and they opened the doors for us to initially meet there for the first 3 weeks, and then we tried to renew, and they said, okay, you can come back, but only 3 more weeks. And so now we're actually coming up on our last day, which will be next Sunday, October 22nd.
Wow. And
so we had to figure out, okay, well, what are we going to do? We got to meet somewhere, and I don't want to meet in my house anymore, bro. We met in our house for a long time. I'm not trying to go back there. And so, so anyway, I started looking for some other spaces, and as we started looking for some spaces, God began to show me something. And He said, look, this isn't actually a bad thing. I'm doing this. I'm moving you forward. And part of the move, and this is what He does, I love this, everything is so intentional with Him. And so if there is a season, if there's a certain area of your life that's drying up, or if there's something that you're scared to step into, it's like God is going to utilize everything for your benefit.
Love that. Love
right?
it.
It says all things work together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. And so now we're moving into a space. And when we were and maybe this will encourage some people, when we were at this college, one of the things that was difficult was that we felt like we were walking on eggshells. They didn't really want us there. And so we had to basically cater to them and all the things, and we wanted to make sure we weren't offending anybody and all this kind of stuff. And so it kind of made us a little bit of subdued in our presence, right? And so I just felt like now we're moving to a space with the owners. I was just emailing earlier today. They're like super excited to have us there. No problems that we're a church. And so now it's like, okay, God had told me, He's like, now I'm moving you to a season of boldness. So you've been in this space where you haven't been allowed to really be fully expressive in the way that you want to. Now I'm giving you space where you can do that, right? And so when something closes, it's for our benefit. It's to move us forward in a space where we can actually continue to grow more and more into what He has in mind for us. And so I think when I think about somebody who might be hesitant about, man, what should I do? And maybe I have these ideas. Number one of the biggest fears that we have about things, especially men, is failure. Let me just put it out there. No matter what, you're gonna fail.
That's good.
Like
that's good. That's real.
Now, how you define failure? I mean, that can be your own thing. But the whole idea of what if I try this and it doesn't work out the way I'm expecting it to, it's not going to work out the way you're expecting it to.
Love it.
And that's okay. And if you think about anybody that you're looking up to or who has gone before you and what you're trying to do, they tried something that didn't work out. Yeah. Everybody. Kobe, Jordan, LeBron. I mean, I'm just naming athletes, but you go to Denzel Washington. I mean, you can go across the spectrum to all these different venues. Anybody who's ever done anything in life, they have done something that didn't work out. But that didn't define them. That didn't stop them. They just learned from it, and then they got better.
It's so interesting as you say that. For the people that are struggling with perfection, because there is this bridge between or connection between perfection and procrastination. Even with this particular show, like I want it to be excellent. I want it to be great. I want it to be the best it can do. And we may not have the budget right now. We may not have the resources, but it's like with what we have, like I want it to be the best. And so we could just wait and be like, all right, let's film another episode and let's film another episode and, be picky about things and kind of analyze it and just be like, okay, and never launch and never start this channel. You know what I mean? Yeah. And at some point we're going to have to just release something to just learn from it. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to fail because they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid to be judged by people. But it's like, but it's like you can't avoid the process. And the process is you just have to step out because there's learning behind it. Yeah. There's just learning behind it. Sometimes we don't learn until we do it. So what you just said right now is like, you're going to fail. Yeah. Okay, cool. But you have you're going to learn from it to get better and better. And some of us are so afraid to fail, but we're never going to grow. We're never going to improve. Nothing's ever going to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I want to say one other thing that I think really is a huge stumbling block is we tend to be super focused on the results.
Yeah.
And so in our minds, this is, again, how you categorize and classify failure. I love what Giannis said. I don't know if you saw this a couple of years ago when they lost in the first round.
He said something. What did he say?
Yeah, so they asked him, like, do you consider this season a failure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he went off.
Yeah, right? So he was like, look, let me explain something to you. He's like, look, just because we didn't get to our goal doesn't mean we failed. This is a learning step in the process. And so our goal is to continue to get better. We're going to come back again next year, right? Are we disappointed? Yes. But do I call this a failure? Absolutely not, right? And so the whole idea is, and somebody said, I think this was Kobe, he talked about falling in love with the process. Yeah. And honestly, man, that's something I'm trying to do myself and learn more and more. And as somebody who's a pastor, you probably understand this. It's easy to get so focused on the results of how many people showed up, right? How much money did we raise? And when we focus on the results of that, that can lead to a lot of disappointment. That can lead to a lot of discouragement. That can lead to procrastination, feeling like unless we do it perfectly, we're never going to get the results we want. But instead, we have an opportunity to switch our focus onto the process and be like, you know what? I'm becoming more and more like Jesus through this process. This is getting me to a place where I can reflect him better, where I can be more like him. And so if that means me stepping out into a place that's outside of my comfort zone, then I know that he's going to meet me there. And honestly, that's really what I've noticed with God is he's going to continue to draw you out of your comfort zone, no matter where you are. If you're in your comfort zone too long, I guarantee you God's not there with you. He's calling you to go somewhere else.
Wow.
And he wants that because he understands that we were built for growth. I'm outside in my backyard. I'm looking at my trees, and I remember when they were so much smaller. Now, for those of you that don't have agriculture, I never thought I'd be into agriculture. But, bro, I'm looking at my trees, and I see how much they've grown, and it's bringing so much satisfaction to my soul. Just seeing the growth. I'm like, I'm in this moment, and I'm praying. I'm like, Lord, what is that? He said, that's because growth is beautiful, and that's what I've made this world to be, filled with growth.
I feel like
growth equals life.
I feel like you're talking to, someone right now that has a desire to write a book, and they're reading what they've written, and there's doubts, there's fears. People are going to think this is stupid. This is not going to do anything, right. And they're sitting on it because they're trying to get it the best it could be instead of just stepping out, or the person that wants to be a comedian, but they're afraid to go out and do some jokes in front of a crowd of people because they're afraid to get booed, or someone that has a great business idea.
Just give them some shoulder jokes.
Give them some shoulder jokes. Yeah. They'll get one laugh at everybody. It'll probably be you just laughing. But somebody has a business that they want to launch, and so, but they're in a sense, they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to invest money into it. Yeah. I just feel like you're speaking to so many different type of people right now that are so afraid to fail that they don't want to embrace the process, the process of growth, the process of learning. You know what I mean?
Man, that's so good, because if you think about, again, that whole idea of is it about the results or is it about the process? If I'm thinking about writing a book and all I can think of is, will this make the New York Times bestseller? If that's all I'm focused on, man, that is a huge, tall task, especially for your first book. Has it happened before? Yeah, but very rarely, right? And so if instead you're like, man, what am I passionate about? What is something that is inside of me that I need to express? I'm doing something, we're actually doing this with my son, and he's been praying this, man. This has been such a beautiful thing to see. But we noticed that he keeps a lot of his thoughts inside. And so now we're working on his expression of his thoughts. And now he's doing it. He's praying for God to help him with it. And he's actually been doing it more and more. But honestly, when I think about somebody who's thinking of writing a book, it's like, let that be the focus. Let that person be like, man, you know what? I have so much in here. Let me focus on trying to work on becoming a better author, that I can express these ideas, these thoughts, these pictures, these concepts, whatever it is, these experiences. Like, I just want to learn how to do that, and then we put that down on some paper, and then if I get it published, cool. If it goes to a lot of people read it, cool. If not, at least now I'm in a process, and so now this is the first step in that process.
That's it.
So let me do that again the next time. Now I get some more ideas, more experiences. Let me continue to refine myself to be able to express what's inside of me that God has put in me. And that is now my focus instead of the result.
That's good.
So I think the issue with that is not what you said is true, but I think the issue people are having is that people don't want to be anything. They want to get something. And so instead of being an author, they want to get what an author can get.
Yeah, it's true.
And so instead of being a professional athlete, they want to get what an athlete can get. Yeah. And so instead of just being a doctor, they want the privilege and the status of the doctor.
Right.
And so that's the reason why people struggle, because they're, like you said, they're result based.
Yeah.
They're not trying to be. It's like your goal as pastors is to be the best possible pastor.
Right.
It isn't to get the biggest church.
Right.
You know, God's preparing us for Him, not us for the world.
Yes.
You know, so I think that is really one of the issues, and also about the failure thing. I got a question for you guys. You guys should know the answer. What's the safest way of traveling?
Plane.
100 years ago, was a plane the safest way of traveling? No. Today it is. Through progress, it became the safest way of traveling. It initially was not that. Cars are becoming safer. Everything is becoming better through failure.
Right.
You know, some failures are very bad because unfortunately it leads to devastation, but when you fail and you don't learn, I think that's the issue. The failure part is supposed to happen. We fail our way into success.
Yeah.
And I think that's just my little 2 cents.
Well, I know we gotta we're gonna wrap up, but
oh man, this was a great conversation.
Yeah, it's a great.
I can go a whole nother hour. Actually.
Yeah, we can. But you know, we gotta.
I go as long as those.
We gotta pay some bills. We gotta do some stuff. But you know, I really pray and I know that this show, this episode is really just help people. You know what I mean? Just step out. I just feel like there's so many people that are so afraid. But you dropped some bombs today, some great nuggets today about how to trust God. You know, is it a risk or is it really obedience? You know, I love that type of way of looking at stuff. And if you want to hear from God, or if you need confirmation, if it is God, opening up the Bible, like the scriptures, it is so powerful to train you on how to hear God's voice. I love what you said about fasting, not intermediate fasting, because everybody do that. I'm talking about you're fasting to hear from God, okay, not to lose weight. Okay. now if the fasting does help you lose weight, kudos to you. That's great. Right. But you know what I mean. But the seeking God, and I love about the risk taking and obedience. And also understanding that this journey of living in the moment, it's one word that I feel like has been resounding today over and over again, and it is the word faith. Faith. Living in the moment really is truly trusting Jesus. It's trusting God. It's trusting Him that He's going to lead your life. I mean, for you to go from USC and turn down an accounting job that was going to pay you money, you turned that down to trust the Lord with what He had for you. And it may have looked and sounded crazy to people, although your mother supported you. It may have looked and sounded crazy to the world, but God leads you all the way to Nashville, Tennessee, where you meet your wife. And now you and your wife today have a beautiful family, have a beautiful ministry. You guys are impacting so many people from all over. And that came from it wasn't really risk. It was really obedience, you know? And so how many things are we missing out on our purpose because we're afraid to obey God? I know God has the best for us, and God's going to tell you things that do not make sense, that goes against your timeline, that goes against, you know, your goals and your vision. But if you trust him, he's gonna make everything perfect for you. He's gonna make everything A-okay. That is for sure. But anyway, as we close, I want you to pray for people that are dealing with fear. They're dealing with, you know, some people are stuck because they've been disappointed. Yeah. They stepped out, man. There's some people, man, that have stepped out in relationships. Yeah. There's some people that are like, I'm never going to get married again. There's some people that is like, I'm never going to trust this group of people. I'm never going to walk into a church again. I'm never, like, I've been traumatized. I've been hurt. I've been let down. I'm not letting anybody close to me. No more business partners for me. I'm just going to do it by myself because my last business partner stole from me and lied on me. And so, you know, there's people I feel like right now that are stuck and not living in the moment because of their past, you know. And so if you can just kind of just pray, you know, for people like that real quick.
Yeah, I can pray. Real quick before I pray, I just wanted to say to anybody who's in that situation and they have stepped out and they got burnt, number one, we need you. We need your experience. We need what you went through. We need you to engage. Yeah. We need you to be with us, present in the moment, because you have something valuable. Maybe you don't even recognize it. But yeah, I truly believe nothing is lost when it comes to God. So let me pray. Lord, I just thank you for anybody here who's listening and who needs some encouragement, who feels like, man, they tried to step out at one point and they tried to trust you and they did, and they felt like it was you telling them to do something or go somewhere or give something up, and they did that, and things just maybe crumbled for them. Maybe it turned out totally opposite in a bad way of what they expected. But Lord, I just pray that they would see that you are a God who redeems. You can redeem the worst situations, and you can take things that are in ashes and you can make them into beauty. And so, Lord, we are just grateful for the fact that their story is not over. I just want to say that their story is not over. Yeah. They are still in it, and they're still here. And it's not hopeless, and there is still opportunity ahead for them. There's good things in store for them from you. And so, Lord, I pray that any bitterness or any unforgiveness that needs to be addressed in their hearts, God, I pray that they would release it to you now, that they would just let go of those areas, and they would learn to receive from you once again, to know that you are a good God that does lead us into good things. And Lord, you confirm your word over and over and over again. And so, Lord, I pray that they would know they can trust you. If there's anybody who feels like they're having a hard time even just trusting you to lead them in the right way, and they tried to listen and read the Bible, and they stepped out, and it just seemed like it just totally backfired in their face, God, I just pray that those people would see that you are still a good God, that doesn't change, that you're continuously good in every possible way. And so, Father, I'm praying for healing in their hearts, Lord. I'm praying that they would see that there's still value and worth in themselves, Lord, and that there's dreams that you want to fulfill inside of their hearts as they continue to come back to you. Let them turn to you, God. Let them be filled with an overwhelming expectation of hope and love and joy that would just be filled by the Holy Spirit. So, Father, we thank you that we have an opportunity to sit up here, and we thank you as people who have experienced disappointments. Yes, we have plenty of stories of testimony to share, but we also have plenty of stories of disappointment and feeling discouraged and feeling let down and feeling abandoned even in certain moments, God. And I thank you that you have done something in my life. I'll just speak for myself, Lord. You've done something in my life to draw me out of those places. You sent people to me that could speak words of encouragement. So I pray the same for those who might feel the same way, Lord, that they would find and hear voices from people around them that would lead them to a place where they could be healed, whole, and delivered from all of those things, God. Let them be free from their past. Free them from their past, God. so that they can be in the moment and walk in the ways that you have for them today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Listen, thank you guys for joining us again. Can we give it up again for my main man, Benjamin Jones? You know, we also have, listen, if this show resonated with you, we're going to continue to do this every single week. And, man, there's so much vision that we have, but we need support. You know, we need support because right now we are funding this thing ourselves. So we're doing something called listener support. If you want to, donate to this project or give into this project, tithe into this project, whatever it is, we believe that we're going to make a difference. And so we have a PayPal link that is up for you to click on that, and you're able to give monthly support so we can continue to take care of our editors and our production team and, everything that goes really into this and making this an excellent production, and an excellent ministry, and an opportunity to just reach people that are stuck right now. And so we hope this blessed you. If it did, hey, share it with your friends. Follow us on our Instagram page, In the Moment with KA, I believe it's on there as well. So you can click on that. And we will see you again soon. Hope you guys had a blast. Love everybody here. Diogene in the house. Pedro Torre, thank you so much. I'm Keith Allen, and we'll see you on the next one. In the Moment.